Excuse me. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Village of Alsip. This is a village committee meeting. Today's April 9th, 2018. We'll call this meeting order at 7:30. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Sure. Trustee McGreal?
Here.
Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Pierce?
Here.
Trustee Zielinski?
Here.
Trustee Juarez? Here. Trustee McLaughlin?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thanks. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, I want to welcome all the students tonight. I like what, and obviously we appreciate when your schools send everybody out to help get you an overview of what we do in government. Just want to give everybody a quick reminder, though, too. Tonight is what we call a committee night, so we're going to bring up some topics for discussion. There won't be any voting on anything tonight. That's done next week. So if anybody needs to participate in a meeting where you actually see voting going on, so you'll see like yes votes, no votes, yes votes, no votes, or maybe abstentions and whatnot, just on parliamentary procedures and so forth. We'll do that next week. We do that on the first and third Mondays of every month. The second and last Mondays are committee meetings, which is what you're here for tonight. So just so there's no confusion, so everybody knows what they're here for. I'll start off the evening with some officers' reports tonight with myself. Oh, I apologize. That's right. You told me right before me. We have a bid opening. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mayor. We have a bid opening for the pump station waterproofing project. We did receive one bid today, and it is from D like David, N like Nancy, Tanks Incorporated. They are located at 11 Teal, T-E-A-L Road in Wakefield, Massachusetts, 01880. There is a bid bond included. And Dan, they did itemize your whole list of items here.
No, it's Mike's.
I'm sorry?
Just the final amount would be good.
Oh.
I do not have, I am not seeing a total. But I don't, that's not going to be, that's the bid bond amount. That's not the total of the,
Yeah, and they've got like a lot of unit pricing, like individual. You want to cooperate? Maybe you can take a look here with the clerk.
Calculate all this and we can read it at the later stage of the meeting.
that'd be fine.
Sure. Thanks, Dan. All right, we're going to come back to that. The one contractor that submitted a bid has unit pricing individually. Dan's going to tally that up, and we'll bring it back later in the meeting. First order of business, not on the agenda, is just a point of interest. I invited the board. Trustee Juarez got me an email here just right before the meeting that the Alsip Little League has their opening day April 21st at 10 o'clock, but they did just change the parade route, which instead of going to Prairie Junior High, they've got a scheduling conflict. It's going to start at Stony Creek School instead, right?
Yes.
At 10 o'clock in the morning. And I did see you sent something to the police chief and so forth, so
Safety,
everybody
fire,
can review what they
public
need to
works.
do and so forth then. But obviously, everyone's welcome to join us April 21st at Stony Creek School to participate in the opening day parade for the Alsip Little League. I did meet trustees the other day with the owners from the Swap-A-Rama, and I had put some information in everybody's mailbox. Basically, what they do, they need a sign variance. They want to replace the sign that's on their property right now that everyone sees off of 294 all the time. Basically, it's what's known as a static finish sign. So it's just a simple sign that says the Swap-A-Rama Flea Market. It's open Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday with a phone number. And what they're asking to go to next is just to have the same type of logo at the top of a sign. They want to go bigger and have a digital message board on there to only advertise their property and their events and so forth, because they want to try and make the flea market a little more family friendly. They actually want to introduce possible bands on the weekend, maybe even like different food vendors, like with catering trucks. That's going to be the new concept these days with cuisine. And according to the layout that they supplied to me, this sign would be approximately 28 feet wide by 18 feet tall, and would stand, I guess the current sign, or the current beam that's out there was 30 feet tall. They want to add about 13 feet 7 inches to this billboard. So this thing overall will stand from the ground to the top of the sign about 43 feet in the air. Currently, our sign ordinance only allows for like 50 square feet of digital signage, and I believe it's 100 feet overall on the sign. So this sign, you got 336 square feet of LED and 168 square feet of the static sign with just like their logo at the top. So overall, 168 plus 336, they need almost 504 square feet of sign is what they're going to put up.
So what percentage is that?
From the 50 to where they're going?
From the, above the...
Oh, it was, so if you have 504 square feet, and a typical sign is maybe 100 square feet, so you're going 4 times bigger.
So in that case, that's got to go through planning and zoning.
The sign for the variance, that's fine. I just want to keep the board abreast, apprised rather of what's going on here and so forth, that this is what they're looking for. And certainly, if we can run this through the Planning and Zoning Commission and have them take a look at this as well. We're going to be we have a billboard that's going to be going up, and I did speak with Dan Triben with the Water Department, because we've got a billboard going up on Water Department property right in front of the flea market that's going to stand almost 70 feet in the air, so it's not going to interfere with ours, and it's over 475 feet away. But I just want to let the board know, geographically, it's there's enough space, what we think is, anyway, but we can have planning and zoning take a look at it and decide if that's what's best.
Well, as I say, I mean, it's not really within our rights to go more than 10% unless there's been, I mean, there should be a recommendation from planning and zoning. for
That's
more than
fine.
that.
I can refer that. Any other questions from any other board members? All right, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to forward that over to the Planning and Zoning Commission. They can take a look at that. And the next thing, I got something in the mail today, actually, from Moraine Valley College, just to let everyone know that Moraine Valley College is now offering classes, Moraine Valley to offer new family caregiver assistant classes. This is going to be a series of new classes to assist family caregivers through Moraine Valley College. The family education caregiver classes offered in conjunction with the PLOWS program for the Council for the Aging, focus on legal and financial issues, caring for a loved one, with Alzheimer's disease and caring for the caregiver. Each class is $10 and will be held at Building T at the Moraine Valley campus. The legal and financial issues class will be held on Wednesday, April 11th from 6 till 7:30 p.m. Informs caregivers about the legal and financial issues that affect them and a loved one from whom they provide care. Topics include advanced directives, maximizing employee benefits for the caregiver, budgeting, and the Medicare Medicaid programs. Caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's is offered Wednesday, April 18th from 6 till 7:30 p.m. Excuse me, and emphasizes caring for someone with Alzheimer's disease or dementia, as well as how to handle common behaviors associated with the disease, such as hoarding, rummaging, and depression. The Caring for the Caregiver class is going to be held on Wednesday, April 25th from 6 till 7:30 p.m. And this provides individuals who are family caregivers to recognize the signs of a caregiver's stress, identify ways to make time for themselves, and discover ways to access community resources for themselves and their loved ones. And they have a note here just to say that we offer these programs to help our clients make proactive and informed decisions, not only for themselves but for their loved ones. And that was provided by Catherine Stowers, and she's with Applause Caregiver Specialist. These programs help to normalize the aging process and help caregivers not feel isolated. So we will post this on our bulletin board out in the hallway, but should anyone be interested, please take advantage of these classes that they're offering. Number one on your agenda I had on here this evening was a discussion regarding Greif developing 5 acres of property to expand their shipping and receiving trailer parking. Trustees, I had a meeting last week with one of the management team from Greif. Greif Containers is located across the street from the Alsip Flea Market. It's a major company that actually manufactures steel drums and containers. They also manufacture plastic containers for potable water that have like a steel grate that most people have seen these where you can utilize this for like forklifts and whatnot then too. Greif Containers have 200 locations worldwide, with 5 locations nearby in Kankakee, Aurora, Carroll Stream, Lockport, and of course here in Alsip. This representative I spoke with, when we had the engineer for their firm come in here recently, and what he wanted to do was, they had a budget of like $650,000, and he had asked the board for an extension, because part of our building code is that you have to have a paved parking lot per the building code whenever you have parking on something like this. Management made it clear to me that the $650,000 they had was all they had, and they really don't have money for paving, etc. Plus, the property that they want to develop, actually they're going to be leasing this from Water Reclamation District. This property, I went out there, you can't even see it from the street. This is actually tucked behind 294 and actually extends all the way to the Calumet Sag River. So therefore, Greif is requesting a variance by the village because basically that $650,000 is going to be available to clear all the forestry that's on 5 acres of property. He is going to he's going to be in compliance with what the fire department determines as far as fire hydrants and whatnot. Tom, he'll put in everything that we ask him to do, and he'd like to install a permeable lot, meaning that he'd like to do a gravel parking lot. I did speak with Dan Triben in the water department as far as drainage is concerned, and Dan confirmed that that is acceptable per water reclamation standards, because they want to see the water get through a surface as opposed to being contained and requires sewers and all that kind of area too. So they're thinking for the $650,000 budget that they have, they should be able to meet the need of what they want to do with developing 5 acres. Please keep in mind, and that's why I put the note here for everybody too, Greif Containers is trying, they want to make this happen to expand this property here in Alsip. Their option would be to consolidate their operation and move it all over to Lockport. And I says, well, how would Lockport be any cheaper? He says, they've really extended their hand when they had the housing boom back in the 08 and so forth. They really made this very simple for them to come on board and have the same thing happen out there with not a very big cost. So they're trying to work with the same type of budget that we're identifying here for the $650,000. And I tell you, sometimes, although we have, and obviously when you determine a building code that has a that needs a sealed lot and so forth, I really think sometimes that has to be looked at depending on where these are located. In this case, the only road to get at that is on their property. This isn't accessible from any street. It's not accessible to any residential area or anything like that. It's tucked back in the middle of nowhere, and certainly it helps keep this business in town at the same time. So I'm asking the board if they would grant them a variance to allow them to use this is a permeable lot because you're allowing water to go through it, right?
Correct.
Okay, to do a gravel lot and still be in compliance with whatever building and fire determined to be reasonable for fire purposes then too, because you need a fire hydrant every 300 feet, right, Tom? Okay.
Can you define a gravel lot? I mean, are we talking about big rocks, or is this, the crushed limestone that actually would get into tire tread and could be transported out onto a main road? I mean, so my only concern with it is, and I think that these variances could and should be granted on a case-by-case basis. I don't want to open a can of worms because we've given 2 delay variances in the last couple of months to a couple of others. But my biggest concern with this one, I looked at the property with you, Mayor, and I agree it's way out there, tucked away. It's not up against anybody's property. It's my only concern then and now is it rains, it floods, the gravel gets stuck in the tread and it gets transported out onto a main street. Who's responsible for that?
It would be the property owner.
And how do you prove that that piece of gravel came from that parking lot?
DNA.
Dan, do you see a lot of lots that, and the trustee makes a good point, do they use some larger stone?
Like, speak to the type of gravel that, compacted, it would keep from, coming out.
Yeah, the grade 8 stone, as they call it, that they would use more than likely in that lot. It really does not, especially with the stretch of property that they coming out from that parcel of the property there, by the time it hits the road, it's already.
And trustees, just so you know too, the access to get out here, like I said, you actually have to go through a security gate. You're probably traveling a half a mile, you're probably traveling a good 5 blocks but to get back to where you're going. Yeah, kind of thing, yeah, too.
I mean,
Yeah.
the property there is presently permeable, so it's been in effect for 1,000 years.
Right.
So I get it, and to the trustee's point, I agree that we should look at these things on a case-by-case basis. I guess my only concern in this is that we had a presentation that they'd like to do this, they're going to pave it, and they'd just like to delay that for a year. A month later, everything's changed.
No, and just to explain that, too, the management team did say to me that, he goes, I don't think my engineer is really hearing me. When I said $650,000, we only look at budgets annually. He goes, I'm not really going to have that money down the road that I know of and stuff, so asking for an extension isn't fair to you folks, and certainly if it didn't happen, then you're going to come back after us then, too. So,
But the gentleman from Greif was here with the engineer making the presentation.
No, not management wasn't. That was an engineer. That was a subcontractor. Is actually what you saw, who you met. So it was Chris Lavoie from CM Lavoie Engineering. So like I said, management team came in and asked for a variance, and certainly I felt it was a reasonable request, which is why I'm sharing it with the board. And I can
Reasonable, but every time we do this, we further open the gate to every other person who doesn't want to spend the money to comply with what was presented to us to be a good idea from the very beginning.
Well,
And either it's a good idea or it's not.
well, and that's what I'm saying. I think sometimes we need to look at these, and we all just said the same thing, individually, all the time, to see what's fair and what isn't and so forth, because certainly you're not going to develop a property that you're going to lease, extreme, that kind of thing, too, so.
So we should take all the planning and zoning rules, regulations, ordinances out and look at these individually, because that's what we're going to be doing.
No, I think just every so often, I think you need to look at these parking lot situations. I think to actually pave 5 acres of property that's extreme. So, that's all. I'm looking at extreme situations, not every.
So they don't plan on doing this at all,
No.
ever,
What's that?
paving the parking lot.
They don't want to make the investment because they're leasing the property
Right.
from somebody else, and they're going to improve a property to somebody who,
And he wouldn't be able to do it for the 650, for within the 650 budget that they determined, that's all, so,
I get it.
okay. I'll put it on the agenda next week to ask the board for approval on that, and we'll go from there. Next, that's all I had. Next would be the clerk's report. Clerk Petzel.
Thank you, Mayor. It was brought to my attention about a week and a half ago that the committee meeting minutes should be approved on a committee meeting night and not a board meeting night by the village attorney. So that is why there are numerous committee meeting minutes that are here. So they will be listed on the committee meeting agendas for request for approval. So we have request for approval of minutes of the December 11th, 2017 committee meeting, request for approval of minutes of the January 8th, 2018 committee meeting, request for approval of the minutes of the January 29th, 2018 committee meeting, and request for the approval of the minutes of the February 12th, 2018 committee meeting. These were all previously approved at a board meeting. However, again, according to the village attorney, they need to be approved at a committee meeting night.
So they're double secret approved?
Yes.
Okay.
You're having a chance to unapprove them now.
No, you already did it once. You can't take, no take
No
backs.
takebacks?
Item number 5 is request for approval of the minutes of the March 12th, 2018 committee meeting. Those were sent out to you recently. Presentation of the March FOIA report. There was a total of 29 FOIAs. Presentation of the IDOT motor fuel tax allotment for March 2018 in the amount of $37,453.01. I passed out to all the trustees and the mayor just before the meeting started a chart to talk about the vehicle sticker fee to kind of catch everybody up. Up until 2015, the vehicle stickers fees had kind of been stagnant. In 2016, ordinance number 2016-2-2 was passed to have an increase in some of the stickers. For instance, the car sticker went from $27 to $32. The pickup truck, for lack of a better way of putting it, sticker went from $32 to $35. In 2016, it was decided then that beginning in 2017, the seniors who had previously received one free sticker would be receiving one sticker for $5. We gave the seniors a one-year heads-up kind of thing. However, the ordinance did not address the disabled stickers, so they again received a free sticker in 2017. The ordinance also had stated that the treasurer would adjust the fees every May 1st via indexing. That also was not done in 2017. So, what we've done is we need to submit updates via ordinance to ordinance and legislation through the attorney to update a few of the fees. First off, the disabled passenger sticker would now also be the same as the senior, which is $5 for one sticker per household. Any other stickers above that would be at full price. I am proposing that a passenger vehicle go from $32 to $35, so it's an increase of $3. Antique vehicles would go up $3. The Class B pickup truck would go from $35 to $40. Most of the other fees are going up either $5 or $10 kind of down the line. You can kind of review it. I had also reached out to all of the clerks in the south and southwest suburban area and got responses from 5 of them as far as what their vehicle sticker costs are. For the most part, we are still a little light comparatively to some of the other surrounding towns. Crestwoods are a lot less expensive than ours, but we also know that they have a lot more, they have the OTB and fees coming in. Matson is at $40 for a car and $65 for a small pickup truck. Western Springs is at $65 for a car and $55 for a pickup truck. So, I mean, we're kind of right in there. What I'm looking for tonight is a consensus to, of the fees that are proposed so that I can get the information to the village attorney to draft up the ordinance and we can have it approved next week.
Is this something that the finance director has reviewed as well?
Yes, he has. And these are his indexing with the exception of the disabled, because the ordinance has to be changed. Right now, it would come over as 0. Yes, and then we would index them going forward.
I personally am in favor of what's been proposed other than the disabled. I'd still like to keep that. I don't think we have that many, and I personally like to keep it at 0.
Okay. Trustee McLaughlin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I can agree with Rick. Just one question I would have those. What happens when you have a household with a disabled person and a senior?
They only get one discounted sticker. So if it's a disabled, then they would receive if it maintains a 0 sticker, they would receive a 0 and then one full price. If it goes to $5, it would be one $5 sticker and one full price. Trustee Pierce, your thoughts?
I agree with Trustee Dalzell.
Trustee Juarez?
Agreed.
Trustee McGrill?
I agree.
Trustee Zelinski?
From what I gather, in the past, we used to even toss around the idea of possibly eliminating the sticker cost. I don't agree with the increases in the sticker cost, but I especially don't agree with the senior going to $5. I'd like to keep that at 0 at least.
At 5.
The senior was $5. The seniors moved up to $5 last year.
They did move up to 5.
Yes.
Oh, did that without me knowing.
And if I'm remembering correctly, the vehicle stickers bring in about $450,000 to Road and Bridge.
That's their primary source.
That's
And this new proposal would bring it to what?
we didn't run the numbers based on people moving out, people moving in. We wouldn't. That list is being compiled now to send to Allegra so that they can print the forms and mail the forms out. So to recap, all the proposed sticker costs are agreed upon with the exception of disabled. You would like to see that remain at 0? Is that the consensus of the board?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. A couple other points of interest regarding vehicle stickers. We have, through the clerk's office, through our contingency fund, we have paid for programming to be done. This is the first year that you will be able to purchase your vehicle stickers online, with the exception of the seniors or the disabled residents, because they need to come into Village Hall to prove their age and or their disability. There is a fee associated with it. The fee that's coming out of the clerk's office contingency budget is approximately $1,050. With each of the online orders that are done, there is a $3 fee to be paid by the residents per a transaction fee. So it's going to be similar to when you pay your water bill online. But a transaction is if you have 4 stickers in the household and you purchase all 4 at one time, it's only one $3 fee. There is a 1.77% fee per transaction, per sticker that is being absorbed by the village, which is about 62 cents per sticker. Have had conversation, and 62 cents is based on the raised rates. We have had conversation with Mike Frater, and he is agreeable with that, thinking that we'll have a faster turnaround, we'll probably get more compliance with this. The programming should be done within the next week or two, and it is our intention to, at the April 30th committee meeting, do kind of a demo on how you can go onto the website and click the link and go through to purchase the stickers, and then we will, the clerk's office will mail them to you. We did not include the link on the forms that will be mailed to the residents for the fact of this is our first time doing this. We don't want to run into a bunch of glitches and a bunch of residents using it and having issues. So that will be new. There is going to be further updated programming to this system later on this fall going into next year, so it'll be even easier. The advantage outside of it being convenient for the residents, which is the main thing, is also that there is less information for the clerk's office to have to manually enter and to tag. It'll carry over, so there's less potential of errors, whether it's in license plate numbers or vehicle registration numbers, etc. So that will help us tremendously. The last thing that I have on the clerk's report is I need to have a discussion. We're coming up on the end of the fiscal year. I have one employee in the clerk's office who unfortunately had to have surgery and has been out on extended sick leave. Therefore, they will not be able to use up all of their vacation days. I am requesting permission to carry over 40 hours or 1 week of vacation days for this employee. I am willing to put a date of it needs to be used by such and such date based on the board's recommendation. If we carry over 5 vacation days, there is still a floating holiday and 1 other vacation day that we will be able to squeeze in for this employee to use before the end of April. So do I have consensus to put this on the agenda?
Sinead, what do we have in the policy manual regarding that?
Well, vacation days are not supposed to carry over, but again,
I thought there was something, though, actually in the policy in regards to when somebody is out on disability.
I'll have to look at it further and see if I can get back to you.
I don't have my manual with me.
In the past, have been requested to pay out at the end of the fiscal year if they have days left over, if they're on injury or illness.
So was this sick or was this short-term disability? This person.
Is this person sick or short-term disability?
She's using sick time post-surgery.
Sick time post-surgery.
By the time she comes back, she will have used 19 days of sick time. I'm looking for a recommendation. Trustee Zelinski?
Well, we've allowed it before, so with extenuating circumstances, we might as well do it again.
Okay. Trustee Dalzell?
I agree.
Trustee McGrill?
I agree with the use by in there. You know,
Okay. And what would your use by recommendation be?
whatever you think.
Okay.
That'd be a HR thing, right?
Probably, yeah. You would discuss it with HR, I guess.
Right. Okay. Trustee McLaughlin, your recommendation, I'm sorry?
I don't have one at this time. I mean, without knowing exactly what we have in the policy manual. I thought we had something specifically addressed in the policy manual. And I'm not a fan of carrying over vacation days. It's
Does
just
anybody
my...
can we just grab a policy manual before the end of this meeting? I mean, there's.
I'm trying to pull up the 15 and a half now.
All right, thanks. Can we just?
We can revisit that.
We'll
let's
revisit it?
revisit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So we will revisit it shortly.
I just asked one question on the vehicle sticker.
Yes.
You said there's a transaction fee of $3, to do it online.
Correct.
Can you come in if you want to pick it up? And
You
is
can-
there a fee for that?
There is a fee associated with using credit cards in the clerk's office. If you're paying in cash or check, there are no fees.
Okay, thank you.
Why is there a $3 fee if you do it online?
Convenience.
The next fiscal year.
Yes. When you pay your water bill online, there's also a fee associated with that if you pay your water bill online.
It's a state of Illinois e-pay system.
Okay. I was just wondering, because I've heard in years past that the clerk's office is always complaining about how
I'm going to ask.
much they do at this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
And to charge people more to do it away just didn't make sense. But if it's something that the pay system has, then I understand.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Just another point.
Union raises go into effect May 1st, right? So
Correct.
if you push this vacation into the next fiscal year, is it paid out at this year's rate or next year's rate? It's just another thing to consider.
I understand.
So
I understand.
Week off is a week off.
yeah, I know, but I mean, so if you're
The only other way you can do it, and because of the circumstance that the employee's off sick, is to pay him out for it. So that's what we've done in the past as well, rather than carry it over. And it's tough because you got a person who's got a bunch of vacation or whatever their benefit time is, and then you carry it across. Now they've got their earned benefit for next year as well as the carryover.
I understand.
And it makes it even more difficult with schedules for that. So a lot of times they've said, you know what, we're just going to pay that off. We understand what the circumstances are, and to your point, now you're paying at the lesser rate.
do we offer a vacation cell?
No.
No.
To use it or lose it.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be, but under an earned benefit, you really can't do that.
Okay.
It's up to management to schedule the time if the employee isn't doing it in the time provided.
This particular employee did have vacation time scheduled and then became ill and required surgery, so.
Special circumstance.
Right.
Okay.
Something extenuating. So we'll come back and just circle back a little bit later on. There's Almir.
That's it? Okay. All right, thank you. We're moving along then. Number 4 on the agenda was the public forum. Would anyone in the audience wish to address the board on anything? No one? All right, thank you. The standing committee reports, the Finance Committee, Trustee McGlowan.
All right, I'll have the usual list of accounts payable for approval and a presentation of payroll for approval. Also on the agenda for tonight, we have a discussion of the fiscal 18 budget revision. I'm not sure if everybody had a chance to look at that or not. For the most part, the budget revisions are strictly moving money between the line items to adjust for areas where some line items were over budget and others under budget. There are some areas, though, as well, where we are increasing the budget. And I do not actually have a total on that. Is Karen here tonight?
I guess not. She said she may try and make an appearance. I don't see her in the audience. But, yeah, the list, trustees, that I put in everybody's mailbox, this was compiled by our accountant, Karen Bonema.
I didn't get a copy.
Sorry. Get him. So we can put that on the agenda for approval next week?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. Fire report, Trustee McGlowan.
Okay, under fire, we have a discussion of upcoming retirements and hiring of replacements. We'll start there.
Okay, all right. Where do we want to start at? Should say, where do we want to continue on from where we left off about a month ago?
Now, I know the first 2 retirement dates are coming up in the month of May.
Correct. May 16th and May 28th.
And you said it takes 2 weeks, essentially.
For orientation
once
training.
They're hired.
Correct.
And on the books, 2 weeks of training.
Correct. The process to hire takes anywhere from 1 to 2 months. They go through a background check, they go through a lie detector, and then they do their physical with the doctor. So depending on what their current work schedule is, trying to jog around that. So on an average, between 1 and 2 months to hiring. And then after our last conversation last week, I did start processing 2 people for the ones in May.
Okay. Is it my personal recommendation in terms of the timing and timing of the retirements themselves, timing for training. My recommendation would be, if at all possible, to get the firemen ready to start training on May 14th. That would get them in place then and or ready to go on shift as the 28th. In that case, then we would only be covering essentially 3 shifts of the first retiree on overtime, and then we'd have them in place almost exactly in time for the second retiree to go out.
Right.
So it would be minimal impact on our overtime while, and I said they would be on straight time for the 2 weeks, so it'd be minimal cost during their training period. So I think this would have the best financial impact on the department, at least in terms of the first 2.
Right now, I have 3 letters of intent to retire.
But the next one's not till what, late June?
June 28th. And then I have a lieutenant who's, I've given a verbal towards the end of June also. I don't have that written yet. And then one more lieutenant around July 6th. So there will be,
They'll be
one
very
more for
quick.
sure. Yeah, it'll be very quick. The 2 things I handed out, Trustee Dizelle asked me a couple weeks ago, he sent me an email about a schedule of our guys from May 1st, I believe, to December 31st. And with our scheduling, it's very difficult to create that because it's not going to be even close to being accurate for a couple reasons. Number one, they're just starting their vacation picks. So not all their vacation picks are in there. They start vacation picks in February. February and March, they pick a week at a time, and then beginning April, they're allowed to pick their individual days as well as their floating holidays. So usually towards the end of the month is where we start seeing a lot of choices of their vacation. So that's one of our biggest things we have to worry about. Usually from the end of May all the way until probably the middle to the end of September, all this vacation spots and holiday spots are picked. We allow 3 schedule off, and that is by contract. So schedule off day includes a furlough day, vacation day, a floating holiday, and time due. So they have 4 different choices to have a day off. There are 6 days throughout the month that there's a double furlough day, which only allows for 1 person to be off. Last year, I believe in August was the only day that we had 9 people working. Every other day we only had the minimum 8 working, and that was it. So if these guys go off and we don't fill them, every day there's going to be overtime, whether it's lieutenant or firefighter, depending on who's off. The other problem, which complicates things even further, is because the amount of people we have leaving, and also the other specialty teams are on, there's going to be shift changes, and that was what the other second sheet is. So you can see what the tentative shift schedule is going to be sometime in June, which is my original date to change shifts because of what we originally anticipated. And then when the lieutenants retire, there's going to be a couple other moves beside that. So there's a lot of moving parts because I have to try to split up seniority as best as I can for vacation picks. Specialty teams such as technical rescue, hazmat, fire investigation, acting officers. So there's a lot of things that have to be evened out, which makes it extremely hard. Not only that, about a month before I do shift changes, and I have to determine when the shift changes are, what new furlough days they get as well. So, yeah, it's not easy to just flip in the switch and say we're going to do this. So the more advanced time I have makes life a whole lot easier for everybody around, especially with scheduling this. So at least with the 2 guys that we have being processed right now, that'll help with the 2 May dates. And then I don't know what you want to do for the ones after that. Keep in mind also, when we do their training, the more people we have when we put through the training, the less instructors I have to hire back. 9 out of the 10 days, I have at least 2 instructors I have to hire back at the 7G rate. So you take $3,750 and multiply it by 16 for each day, and that's what I'm paying my guys to come back and train the new guys, which is considerably cheaper than overtime. That 2 weeks is orientation to get them used to our equipment, how we operate. So when they go on shift, they're actually kind of like a plug-and-play firefighter, just fall into shift, whatever shift they're going to at that point. Any questions at all? All right. So what do we want to do with the 3rd person? And wait till the middle of June.
Yeah.
And then hopefully I should have a letter
Then hopefully
by
you
my
have in writing
lieutenant.
in terms of how many
Right.
others there would be.
I know they're going. What I would like to do, at least start the background check and at least the next one after that, and hold up before the physical. I know these guys are going. It's just, by contract, they'd only have to give me a 30-day notice, and we're trying to work that and correct that for the next contract, so it's a little bit longer of a time period. So at least if I can start the background check and the lie detector and hold off until the physical until I get letters, that would probably speed up the process a little bit, if that's okay. I don't know what everybody thinks.
What we're talking about too, folks, just so everybody understands, we've got 5 firemen retiring this year.
Potential.
And, pardon me?
Potential.
Potential,
don't
but
have
we know
long
3 of them are
range yet.
going for sure. They've already given their tentative leave dates, and we're just trying to determine when to onboard these new firefighters and so forth. We do have an active list that we're going off of, Chief, right now?
Correct. The current list, to get my second person for the processing, I had 15 people take a pass. People that have been hired on another fire department within the last 6 months to a year. I have, I believe, roughly 22 more people on this current list, and we're actually starting a hiring process to replace that list, which expires in July. The other thing is our current lieutenant's list also expires in July, so we're actually starting a promotional process besides hiring replacement people at the same time. So we have a lot of things going on at the same time right now.
So you actually have 15 people turn you down?
Yes.
They have jobs, so that's good to hear.
Yes.
So good to hear they're working, let's put it that way.
It took me a lot of phone calls to get to the second person, I'll tell you that much. So, but yeah, we do have 2, and like I said, I'd like to continue at least till we know where the other ones are going to go. So at least we can start that and then look at hiring them in the middle of June, so when the other 2 guys go, at least a replacement. The last one, we'll play that one by ear.
right.
When I get a letter, we can come back and visit that again.
Like I say, I mean, if it's in the proximity of the other 2, then it would make more sense to do 3
Correct.
together. But
Correct.
without knowing more.
And I'll keep you up to date. Right now, the tentative date's around July 6th. That's around his anniversary, so that's what he was looking at. So it's only 6 days after the other 2, right around there. If that changes, I'll let everybody know also.
Okay. So does anybody have any comments, questions, concerns about going with targeting the May 14th date?
You're
But
okay
he-
with that, Chief?
Oh, I'm awesome with that. If anybody wants to help me schedule these guys, that would be great too. So, yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is discussion of what we want to do with Caltron.
I'll open it up to you guys.
So,
Are we making any money on it?
We are making money. We charge $65 a month. We pay $10 a month for the maintenance fee. So, yeah, that's how we end up with $55. We have about 20...
we actually
When we
collect.
collect the money.
When we collect it, right. With the changes that we've made over the last couple years, we have a much better collection rate. We have, I think, between 15 and 20 that we got to go back and forth, and we bring them to housing court to try to catch what they owe us. I know I've had a few conversations with the mayor of, I think, past promises. I don't know how to really phrase it, that somebody told some of these businesses, yeah, we require it, but you really don't have to worry about that. I've been told that on 2 occasions so far, that somebody else in the office before promised them that they didn't have to worry about it. So we're working with some of them businesses right now to rectify that. One of the businesses owed us several $1,000s that we're just going to end up writing off, and this was prior to when we started sending them the collections. One of my lieutenants, Lieutenant Miller, did an excellent job of taking the contracts, looking at everything, getting all that information to find out how much is owed and where we're at. Since then, he's turned it over to Danielle, our part-time secretary in fire prevention. So it is streamlined right now. So I spoke with her earlier today. Very little effort on our part right now to keep up with it, because they've done a great job and got it in place. So labor-wise, it's not costing me as much as it was within a year ago, because, again, we've got all that information. The only labor part of it is when we get the statement from CrossPoints, who's our vendor, and if somebody doesn't make their payment, we will issue them a municipal violation. And that's about it right now. And then housing court, obviously, we always send somebody to housing court because we always have tickets anyway, so it's already incorporated in what we're sending them to housing court for. So we are doing a lot better. I'm not sure where collections are at, where they're working at right now with what we turned in from 2016. I know we, at the time, I believe we had almost 161,000 that was uncollected. Some of it went to businesses in Crestwood which no longer exist when we were dispatching for Crestwood. Some of them are businesses that no longer exist in the village, so again, a lot of that is lost income. But the biggest reason is nobody was monitoring it for 3 to 4 years, and now we are. Oak Lawn is gracious enough when we switch dispatch centers in the end of this month. They will be monitoring our Caltron alarms for no cost to us. So we're not paying an additional fee for them to monitoring while they're dispatching us at the same time.
But is there a fee to switch it over to Oak Lawn?
No. Talking to Jeff Lear from Cross Points, it's nothing more than this installing another, basically a monitor over there. They did recommend installing another control panel, and it's like $7,600. If we wanted to go that route, we're choosing not to go that route right now because, again, we don't know what we're doing with Caltron. If worse comes to worse, we can move what we have downstairs in the PD over to there and take care of its place at the same time. One of the questions that came up last meeting was how long are these boxes going to last? There is no definitive answer. There is no time frame. What makes it better for us is we have 310 boxes in our village, so every time you add another box, it makes the network stronger. So it's less wear and tear on the boxes themselves because they are radio alarms. Speaking with Jeff, we have not had to replace any box yet, globally replace any box. We've had a few that needed some minor repairs here and there, some batteries, but for the most part, it's been very cost-effective with what we've had to do with the maintenance of the alarms.
And if we were to discontinue this program, what are the alternatives?
The alternatives is whoever has Caltron now, give them the option if they want to keep it. Or we'll have to restructure our monitoring ordinance to determine how we want to do that. And we have to look at some of the other fire districts when they disbanded the Caltron because of, again, the lawsuit that was brought up against them. My contention, and I think I mentioned this, if not at the last meeting, a couple meetings before that, is wait till what happens in 2019 when the NFPA committee meets again. Back 5 years ago, when everybody was threatening to sue the municipalities for what we're doing right now, NFPA took a vote and said, no, what we're doing right now we can do, but again, it'll be up in 2019. And we're, right now we are bringing in some money. It was never, I don't believe it was designed as a revenue stream. I don't know. I was a firefighter when this began, so I don't know what the whole purview was or what the whole discussion was right now. Right now we are maintaining it. It's not costing me a lot of labor costs to be able to do that, and we have avenues to be able to collect what's owed to us currently. Obviously, anything before 2016 goes to collections, and we're working with that. But me personally, I would not. I don't think we're going to get a whole lot out of that. I really don't. But the ones that owe us, we've been working with, and I've been keeping on board with the mayor and also where we're at with them also.
And to kind of recap again, folks, what we're talking about here, Caltron is actually an alarm system that all of our village businesses utilize. It's a direct connect to our dispatch center that we're going to, what the chief was just talking about, we're going to be consolidating our 911 dispatch to Oak Lawn pretty soon. They have agreed to monitor that at no extra charge when those alarm boxes go off. However, the concern that we have right now is let's put it this way, we're using a third party to do the billing, and that same third party collects. We're not even involved in that, so we're just receiving whatever we receive.
Correct.
And we found that, especially this is a brand new board you're looking at. I'm a new mayor. I'm here less than a year. But we look at a program like this and say, how do we better police something like this? Because we've got over $161,000 that are uncollected in alarm fees. So while we're trying to address this and chase these people, the bottom line is, we're a village, we're not an alarm company. So, I mean, do we insert ourselves at this point? Because we've had nothing to do with the billing on this, so that's the problem. You know,
Correct.
We're almost a third party here in a way. So, which is why the trustees bringing the conversation up to say, is this still worth our while? And, you know, just on a short comparative conversation yet, too, even with us consolidating our 911 dispatch in Oak Lawn, there's over 6 towns, I think, that are utilizing that. Is there 6, Chief, right now? Yes. 6 towns are utilizing Oak Lawn for 911 dispatch. None of them are using Keltron right now. So that's why we're kind of looking at this, too, to say, do we still somewhat monopolize this product? It's in ordinance form that we mandate that these companies participate using our system, or do we let the system, or do we drop the whole program and let ADT, whomever want to participate, Reliant rather, and so forth, you know? So
Right.
that's the conversation we're at here now.
My contention, and again, being the position I'm in right now, the aspect that I look at is 2 aspects. Number one is the business itself, and also the safety of our firefighters. That's the 2 biggest things. Having a direct connect, when that fire alarm goes off, we're being dispatched immediately instead of waiting. I brought this up before, that we've had other businesses in town that they've had a fire alarm go off, and one actually led to a fire, and we had a 20-minute delay. We've had a delay because the alarm company calls business and see if there's any problems, and if they don't get any answers, then they call the fire department, and there's a delay. Just recently, this morning at 5:30, I was at another town for a structure fire. The alarm that came in was actually a burglar alarm. What had happened is the fire actually burned through the wires and set off the burglar alarm, so the fire department was not dispatched right away. The police department was. The police department got on the scene, and they reported smoke coming from the building. So by the time all this transpired, they had about a 15-minute delay in response to the fire department, which led to an extended amount of fire inside a commercial building. And as the fire gets larger and larger, you're putting our firefighters more at risk. Where if we get an immediate alarm, at least we have a better chance of getting there while it's in its beginning stages, unless there's some kind of circumstances that would, let it get out of control a little bit quicker. And really, the only people that aren't really happy with the service are all the other vendors that aren't Keltron. Because they look at, we're taking away business from them. I said, yeah, you're right, but they also have third-party services that are in Texas that are making phone calls to our 911 center, so hey, there's a fire alarm. They have no clue what's going on. At least ours is going to whatever center is dispatching the fire department. So, again, we got to kind of weigh that out, which is the better way to go at this point.
Is there a way to continue offering the service without it being mandated?
No. Yeah, if we decide to discontinue, it can be a volunteer basis, absolutely. But again, I don't know how many of them would jump ship. I'm sure the same 15 or 20 that aren't very well at pay, and they'd be the first ones to jump ship. So again, that's one of the things we look at.
It might be worth it to get rid of those headaches while continuing to maintain the service for those that actually do appreciate it.
Exactly. So that's, again, that's not my decision to make. Like I said, I'm very selfish because I look at the safety of our firefighters more than anything else. But again, how much effort's with right now? We're not putting as much effort into it as we were a year ago because we've got everything streamlined. So again, we've seen that decrease in what my labor cost is of doing that right now. Last year, my labor cost was very high because of just getting in all the information and organizing it. That's already done. So, everything's all computer. We got everything on a computer spreadsheet right now to maintain everything. So, not much cost at that point. Anything else?
I have a hard time because we've amended the rate structure to bring this down from where it was prior.
Right.
And from what I understand is that we're still not as competitive as some of those people who are in the alarm industry.
Right.
Who do this for
Yeah,
a living.
some of are cheaper because they're buying, 1,000 boxes at a time compared to us who's buying 12 boxes at a time, absolutely.
So we're expending quite a bit of money. There's money out there, and quite frankly, there's money that we're not going to collect for a lot of the reasons you've already talked about. The other aspect of it is that the state has a statute called time-barred debts. So there's a certain aspect of it that if we didn't collect it within a certain period, we're not going to be able to in the
Correct.
future,
Right,
nor will the collection agency.
right.
So at some point in time, I wonder why we're even in this endeavor. We're a municipality who's providing the service. And while I appreciate all those things you're talking about, the safety of your people, we're also unique in municipalities is that most of these premises that you're talking about are sprinklered.
Correct. A good portion of them, but not all of them. There's quite a few buildings that aren't sprinklered that have the fire alarm systems in there also, including apartment buildings.
And the Keltron is a mesh-based system. So I get what you're saying as far as the more, the merrier, because that makes the mesh stronger. On the downside is that it's not true that if they're not doing anything, that they're not being utilized. The mesh constantly pulls itself to find out and tattle on the neighbor that isn't responding.
Absolutely,
The
yes,
strength of the mesh.
correct.
So it's out there and it's working all the time.
Right, and that's one of the benefits, and that's, another benefit we have is because they send out the signal, I believe it's once a week, so if there is a dead box, that dead box is not going to get a signal to dispatch. Well, they'll know if there's a dead box out there.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the other aspect of it is right now, and we still have quite a few businesses that have their own monitoring system. I can't tell you if they're working properly or not. I have no idea.
Right.
And nobody can except whoever's servicing theirs.
I just think that we're fortunate in the number of incidents of true fires that we have. And I'm trying to find out, not that one fire is too little, but I'm just trying to find out what the validity is of it.
Statistically, about 2% of fire alarms actually are actual fires, statistically across the United States. And we've had, and again, keep in mind, we just don't have them in businesses. We also have them in apartment buildings. Somerset's a good example. We've had at least 3 or 4 fires right now in Somerset that was either in a washer or a dryer, or because of a bad cook that got the kitchen going, that we were notified because of the Caltron. We came in as a full fire alarm. Then they called back and said, yeah, they're reporting smoke in the building.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wasn't a full-blown fire blowing out of the window, but there was still an active fire in, whether it's the kitchen or the laundry room in there as well. So, again, we're notified right away with it.
I'm just trying to figure out if we're doing a true benefit to the community by mandating that you subscribe to our fire alarm system as opposed to people having fire alarms, whomever, those people who specialize in providing that service, those people who truly know, operate, maintain at what I believe would be a very high level. We're a municipality.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's not our purview. It's just,
Right.
it seems like we tried. The premise of it in the very beginning, as I recall, was it would be more cost-effective to our businesses.
Right, because you eliminated the phone lines at the time,
Right.
correct?
And those phone
Conversely-
lines were ridiculously
Oh,
expensive.
yeah, you're over $200 a month for one less set of lines.
Conversely, because of technology, a lot of things have changed.
Right.
I don't know that we're truly being a benefit to the businesses or whomever has the subscription to these alarm systems, and I think that we're ill-prepared in order to continue to provide that service with the dollar amounts that we're expending and talking about buying radio units and putting them on the shelf for supply, which
Right.
I understand, but, we're purchasing them and then
You're looking
spending
at
a
about
ton of money.
2.5 years to recoup the cost of one box. Each box is about 2.5 years.
Right.
Right around there.
Can we charge the business for the box up front? Lower the monthly fee?
I don't know, that's something we can look at. I can have the discussion. I don't know if it's,
But if you're XYZ business and you could go to ADT, who isn't going to upfront you but we're going to ask them for $1,600 up front and then continue to bill at a higher rate.
Well, here's the other thing too, is we own the boxes. The business does not own the box.
Right.
So, and again, that's one of the things that we've caught, again, you know, with not monitoring this for several years, some of the things that we've caught is business A moves out, business B moves in. The Caltron was still in business A's name. Business B has no financial responsibility to it. So now working with the building departments, we're actually catching those and we're updating our contracts, which were never done before. And you know, my thing is let's give it a little bit more time to see with what we've put in place, if it's actually a true benefit, like Trustee Dozell said, and see if it's worth it, or we scrap the idea and say, let's come up with another solution. Because we haven't, you know, since we've enacted a lot of these, we haven't had a true full year to see how everything's working out, to really be able to see that. We know that what happened before 2016, we've lost all that money. I mean, essentially, we've lost that. You know, now we're recouping it. Now we only have a few deadbeats, if you will, that we have aspects of collecting it. Yes, we are using some of our labor for that.
Well, some of our labor, but the other aspect is that there are businesses in our community that we're supposed to be somewhat of a benefactor for.
Mm-hmm.
But yet at the same point in time, is now we're issuing them citations to get them in compliance for a contract that, quite frankly, we force upon them. And then we're threatening them with revoking their business license so they can no longer do business in our town because of a debt owed to the community.
Yeah, I don't think we have that. I don't think we've ever put that in place, just the municipal violations. I know we did speak about holding up a business license until the fees, and I don't know what they do with, you know, people that owe us water fees too. I don't know.
We turn their water off.
Well, same thing then. You know, so I mean, that's one thing we haven't had to do yet, and we don't have that in place right now. Our level right now.
It, but we didn't enact it.
Exactly, for the reasons that you said.
Legal reasons, the attorneys weren't comfortable.
Yeah.
Business can operate without a piece of paper hanging on the wall, and probability of us catching them is going to be
right.
remote. They're less apt to do something when they can't flush their toilet.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know what directions you want to go into. If you want to look at disbanding it down the line, I mean, I can see what other departments have, what they've done in the past. If that is an option we want to exercise or look at exercising in the near future. Again, it's not something we just can come in tomorrow and say, okay, yeah, we're done, and that's it. It has to be planned.
Yeah, I just have a real hard time. I mean, we've all looked at the budget. We know that it's in terrible shape, and I don't see extra money being in there anywhere. And I just have a real hard time with continuing to throw money at this, a program that we don't have to fund, because the fire alarms can be done by people who do this for a living, apparently cheaper, possibly even better.
Cheaper's not always better, though. That's the bad part.
I get it, but if we're in a different economic situation, then I might want to sit there and say, yeah, we can delay this for a while. I don't know that we can.
Right.
And are you willing to give up services, fire trucks, equipment, in order to keep the system up?
Yeah, no, I would not do that. I get that. The other thing, too, is what do we do with the boxes when we're done with them? Again, all that has to be determined. Plus, we do have a contract with Crosspoint, so I have to look at that also to see when that would terminate, also what our time frame with that is also.
Unfunded contract.
So.
Well, obviously, that's going to be the study that we're going to have to talk about right away.
Right.
Yeah, we'll need to know the status of the contract, but also I'm interested in knowing what the revenue collected so far this year has been compared to the expenses.
Okay, I will find out from Karen. She usually gets all that money, and I'll double check it with my fire prevention office. On another side note, we have started billing for annual inspections. As of today, we've billed over $30,000. I'm not sure what we've collected because, again, she bills it out every couple weeks or whatever. So we have billed out just for annual fire inspections $30,000. I believe for the second inspections, we're at about $1,500. and third re-inspections, we're only at $500 right now. So we are building what we've
Hopefully,
talked
we don't
about.
want to get to too many third inspections.
Kind of goes with the Caltron, which owes us money. I'll leave it at that. So we are making progress with that. So, but I will work with the towns that had their system and dropped their system. Right now, I believe the only ones that are out there are the fire protection districts. The closest one to us is Lamont, and I believe Lyle Woodwards was the other one. So Lyle Woodwards was named in the original lawsuit when all the big companies were going after the fire districts for the system that we have in place.
Sounds fine.
And then we can discuss in the next couple months what we're going to do.
All right.
Thank you.
That's it, trustee?
That's it.
All right, thank you.
Isn't that long enough?
Yeah.
Long enough, thank
We
you.
covered it. Police
Thanks,
report,
Chief.
trustee McGrill.
I have two items. To summarize, over the last several weeks, we had 3 vendors give us presentations on the red light camera options. So I would like to ask the board to review all the information that they have and then be prepared to discuss it at the next committee meeting in 2 weeks so that we can make a decision and let the police chief and know what direction to go with that. Right. And the second thing I have is a letter of recognition from Chief Jay Miller to Officer Jason Slawecki. And this is dated March 13th, 2018. On March 10th, 2018, at approximately 2:11, Officer Slawecki was conducting an investigation of an occupied suspicious vehicle that he discovered while patrolling the Doubletree parking lot. Officer Slawecki, I hope I pronounced that correctly, encountered a male asleep in the back seat of the car and made several attempts to wake the subject. He opened the door of the vehicle in order to check on the subject due to a lack of response. As Officer Slawecki opened the door, the subject woke up, and the officer immediately observed a handgun under the subject's leg. Officer Slawecki was able to both secure the gun and place the offender in handcuffs without incident. Further investigation revealed that the offender was a 3-time convicted felon, and the firearm was reported stolen out of Houston, Texas. The offender was subsequently charged with aggravated unlawful use of a weapon by a felon and aggravated unlawful use of a weapon. Your actions during this incident are worthy of special mention and recognition. Your attention to the details within the incident speaks highly of your dedication to aggressively detect criminal activity and arrest criminal offenders. It also proudly shows your deep commitment to helping this agency accomplish its missions and goals. Please accept my personal congratulations on a job well done. Respectfully, Jay Miller, Chief of Police. And please offer him the same congratulations on behalf of the committee and the board.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all that I have, Mayor.
All right. The Public Work and Boat Launch Committee, trustee Juarez.
I have a presentation of the March 2018 monthly activity report. For streets, we have 1,250.6 total hours were sign maintenance, change outside lights to LED, working on bathroom remodel, traffic incident maintenance training, CPR training, remove tree from Veterans Plaza, cold patch, pick up garbage on Pulaski, sidewalk inspections, miscellaneous work orders, performing general garage and equipment maintenance and administrative duties. 8.3 of those hours were worked overtime. Drainage, 149 total hours were the jet sewers, stormwater training class, miscellaneous work orders and tending to locations. Forestry, 12 hours total. Sanitary, 207 total hours were to do sewer inspections, miscellaneous work orders, and tending to locates. 0 of those hours were worked at overtime. Snow removal and salting, 28 hours were spent salting streets. 28 of those hours were worked at overtime. Boat launch, 10 hours were spent doing repairs and cleanup on the grounds and building. 128 hours of vacation time were paid out to the full-time employees. Were paid out to full-time employees. 372.8 hours of sick time were paid out to full-time employees. 16 hours of the third quarter floating holidays were used. 13 employees, total monthly hours, 2,173.4 hours. Kyle Anderson, who was a part-time employee, resigned on 3/9/2018. And then I have discussion to promote 2 public works employees from position of Class 2 operator to the position of Class 1 operator. Both promotions have been appropriated in the 2017-2018 budget. Mike Frater would like to request approval from the board to promote 2 full-time Class 2 operators of the Public Works Department to the rank of Class 1 operator. The position of Class 1 operator allows the operation of all heavy equipment housed in the Public Works garage, front wheel loader, street sweeper, loader, backhoes, skid steer loaders, as well as knowledge of special tools and equipment, welders, hydraulic tools, and various power equipment in a safe and effective manner. Both promotions have been appropriated for in the 2017-18 budget and will benefit our department by increasing staff to perform necessary services and emergency operations that require use of heavy equipment. He would like to request that the promotions be effective the first day of the pay period of April 15, 2018. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact Mike Frater, Superintendent of Streets. That's all.
Any questions? All right, thank you. The Building Committee, Trustee Zelinski.
Yes, Mayor, I got a request for opening day ceremonies and parade from the Alsip Little League to begin at 10 a.m. on Saturday, April 21st, 2018. And that's all we have for building.
Okay. The Water and Sewer Committee, Trustee Dalzell.
Department requests to hire 4 part-time summer personnel for a period not to exceed 14 weeks. This is the annual program. This year's program will include the water meter installations, fire hydrant flushing and painting, water service valve and buffalo box repairs, reading water meters, as well as ongoing maintenance of the department facilities. On the hydrant painting, I thought we had a program that was all done at one fell swoop.
No, actually, we're on a 5-year rotating program.
Okay.
Every 5 years, we're repainting hydrants, and we do 1/5 of the town each year.
Okay, all right, thank you. Also, discussion to purchase the Census FlexNet VGB Vehicle Gateway at a cost not to exceed $18,000. The Vehicle Gateway will provide a more powerful and productive platform for reading the newly installed water meters of FlexNet radios. The purchase has been appropriated for the fiscal year 18 budget. I have nothing else.
Just a quick question on your summer personnel. Are you requiring any special skills or abilities, or just general public?
You need to be able to pick up a shovel.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to be 18, right, Dan?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
18, yeah. But beyond that, yeah, we on-the-job training for young kids.
Strong back.
Yes.
Is that every day, certain days a week? How many hours a day?
Monday through Friday, 7 to 3:30.
Very good, thank you. License Committee, Trustee Juarez.
I have a presentation of a list of licenses dated March 28th through April 6th, 2018. That's all.
Okay. Economic Development Committee, Trustee Pierce.
I have a presentation of the March 2018 monthly activity report. We have Roger Hopkins here with us tonight for a quick overview. I'd like to say that weather's improving and we're moving along quickly on Pulaski, but we know weather's not improving. We are moving quickly along Pulaski, though.
Yeah, all I was going to say is we've been working with 3 of the facade recipients, Health on Earth Wellness, the chiropractor, Affiliated Management, which has the strip mall at 122nd and Pulaski, and then Firewater, which is supposed to close about the middle of this month. All of which are, kind of gearing up to start construction as soon as the weather improves and they get their contractors lined up. In the meantime, we're starting to market the EDCA and car wash properties and trying to do whatever we can to market some of the other properties. I was a little bit heartened over the last couple of weeks to see a for sale sign go up on the old service station property north of Demon Dogs. And I've been trying to keep in touch with the owners of Demon Dogs, too, to monitor what they're seeing in the way of activity. So a few of the other businesses that have been closed, like the daycare center, it seems like we're waiting on the owner of that property to, become more assertive as far as marketing it. So, but I did talk to Howie Shranosky, who's got the strip mall with Nancy's Pizza and, a couple of the other businesses. And he's I think, getting ready now to consider moving ahead with his facade improvements and parking lot improvements, which means expanding that parking lot to the rear, which could facilitate better parking opportunities for Las Fuentes next door. So,
Has that business withdrawn its interest in the old daycare center?
We actually just got a message just at the end of last week, like Friday, from the Sal Tadros, who wanted to open a Captain Jack beverage, and saying that the selling agent is now giving him some pushback on selling him the property. All of a sudden, they must have raised their price something ridiculous. And I asked if we could intervene and help and with the conversation, and he hasn't got back to me on that. But that just happened on Friday. And like anything else in this world, they're still trying to sell a piece of property, but now that they understand that the village made some accommodations and so forth, I think we might have beefed up, such interest that they want to capitalize on that and stuff like that too. Even though we're not buying it, all we were doing is accommodating a liquor license to make it happen. They were going to do a high-end liquor store where the preschool's at 116th and Pulaski, and we made some adjustments, the board did, to accommodate retail sales, and now all of a sudden they feel their property is worth more than maybe what the buyer wants to pay at this point then, too. It's changed.
Yeah. And, my recommendation to those people is, well, just let them sit with it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be stubborn or if you want to, ask for something outrageous, let them sit with it for a while, and
the Tadros
if
brothers
it becomes a nuisance, then, we'll send the building inspector to visit the property.
Well, that's just the thing is, this board is going to hear from all of the residents and say, okay, the daycare has moved out, now we've got another empty strip mall, what are you doing about it? Well, at the very least, we would make sure the property's clean and, codes are being enforced on it.
Yeah. And then I've been looking at some of the other targeting issues, and I guess I'd like, I'm going to share some recommendations. When we put together the original retail plan about 2 years ago, we came up with some ideas about who to attract, and because of the changes in the whole retail industry, everybody who sells clothing and any hard goods now is getting real hard to attract. So, pretty much retail business has turned into either restaurant business, medical businesses like dental, physical therapy, optometry, those sort of things, and then entertainment. And we've pretty much classified the whole Pulaski Road corridor as being conducive, really, to quick service restaurants. So those have been the kind of businesses we've been going after, and then other retailers that kind of fit into that neighborhood service, neighborhood shopping kind of convenience area is kind of where we're going. But most of the clothing retailers that we'd really like to see, say, next to the Food for Less, require bigger spaces, but all those kind of merchants like, TJ Maxx or Ross or all of their affiliated businesses, even hardware stores or Harbor Freight Tools, kind of in the hardware business, they're all primarily opening up in second-generation space, which means trying to get somebody to build new construction and then charging new construction-type rents has become more and more challenging. And but, that doesn't mean we're going to give up. We're going to, keep trying to see what we can do about finding the right developer who can build reasonable space and see if we can find a tenant that'll fit into it.
Any questions? All right. Thanks, Roger.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Planning and Zoning Committee, Trustee Zelinski.
Wednesday, April 9th, the Planning and Zoning Committee will be meeting in this boardroom at 7 p.m. They'll be listening to 2 cases brought up at that time.
I'm sorry, Wednesday what?
Wednesday the 11th.
Yes.
I'll let you know how that goes at the next meeting.
Okay. Special Committee reports, Village Properties, Trustee McGlawhorn.
No report.
Thank you. Insurance Committee, Trustee McGrill.
Just an update that the Insurance Committee had a meeting this evening at 6 p.m., and the Horton Group was here and discussed renewal of workman's comp and property and casualty coverage. That's all that I have.
All right, thank you. The Ordinance and Legislation Committee, Trustee Pierce.
It was requested that I put on the agenda discussion of ordinance to amend Chapter 19 Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 1, Section 19-2, State Law adopted to the Village Alsip Municipal Code. On March 2nd, this failed in a 2 yea, 3 nay, 1 abstention vote, with my abstention going along with the majority. I request that this come back for reconsideration and discussion.
Yeah, and thank you. I belong to a Records Managers Association for law enforcement, and more communities, sizable number, have enacted this ordinance to allow them to prosecute on a local level, because the state in Cook County is not prosecuting a lot of these aspects. So it's an ability for us to go ahead and continue prosecution of those suspended driver's licenses and such. On a local level, the village attorney had already indicated that they have a prosecutor at the court to take care of this. That's covered within the retainer fee itself, so there's no additional fees charged to the village in order to perform this, yet we could still enforce these. Revenue aside, I think it's a serious offense that we should be prosecuting. So I would hope that we would be able to sit there and reconsider it and take a look at it and hopefully pass it.
Yeah, for the record, I only abstained that night, just because it was only put on the agenda that night. It wasn't at a previous committee meeting, and the only discussion we had was just a little bit that night, so I just really didn't know what I was voting on. Now I do, and I would certainly vote yes for that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mayor, you and I had a discussion on this about a week and a half ago or so, and there's a number of questions that needed to be answered. We discussed how with the retainer for the lawyers, the attorneys for us,
right,
were okay doing double the work for no extra fees, and how we were limiting our we were limiting the to $500 the most for a violation. And what happened, one of the questions that came up was, what do we do if it goes beyond the $500 that we're going to collect? Who's going to pay that extra money? Who's going to pay the extra fees?
No, the fine was $500, capped at $500.
It's capped at $500.
Right.
But that's by state law. I mean, there's nothing we can do about that.
Well, actually, for what you were saying, the misdemeanor Class A, it's actually capped to state law for $2,500.
Well, this isn't a misdemeanor; it's a petty offense.
It's a petty offense.
Well, that's what we're downgrading it to.
Right.
Right.
That's all we're allowed to.
We can't prosecute it if it's a felony or anything of that nature. We can only go after the petty offenses.
Yeah, a fine and possible incarceration. We can't
incarceration up to a year.
Right.
Yet we have Oak Lawn taking over our incarcerations.
No. They're temporary detention facilities.
Right.
Okay.
It's just overnight.
We can't imprison people for a petty offense.
And again, folks, what they're talking about is they want to take offenses that used to be prosecuted, which these still will go to, let's say, the Bridgeview Courthouse, but like, say, what they consider petty offenses, like driving on a suspended license, they want to have the village, like our village attorney, prosecute those at his regular call while he's there once a month. And these are going to be known as a municipal ordinance violation, so that we have more oversight and more control over small offenses, because odds are what the court's saying is they're inundated with these kind of cases to begin with, and many times they're never paid, and they want to put the onus on the villages to do just that work for them. They just don't have the staffing for it. I was at a meeting in July with the police chief at the Bridgeview Courthouse, and that's pretty much the way they served it up to us.
So who's going to staff this? Is it going to be our clerk's department that does this?
No, this is still just regular traffic. This is going to be the regular call at the village courthouse, and we have our attorney there on retainer for the entire day at one price. He gets that price regardless. If it goes to
collections, we pay the collection agency?
If it goes to collections, then a collection agent takes his cut, right.
Which is the prosecutor that's there that would hear it?
That's someone from the Kankar law firm will be there.
They're there anyway.
They're there anyway, right. And it's no additional, like I said, it might be additional work, but there's no additional cost. He's getting paid a retainer, no matter if he sees 5 cases or 25 cases, he gets the same money for the day.
And did we ever decide if this action is approved, where the money will go for the village? Is it general fund?
Our general fund is always, yes.
To the police department.
Or Jay would like it in the police department anyway, so, yeah. But I did, I had our attorney just reiterate what you put out last time. I put a copy of this in everyone's mailbox too, just to give another overview as what's expected of this ordinance and so forth, or this change in ordinance, right? So, Trustee, I'd ask that they should place this on the agenda for next week for approval. Okay. Thank you. We'll finish up.
Do we have to have a formal motion to reconsider, or also,
Or
or?
we just should put it back on the agenda.
You know what? You're probably right. He did say we could certainly revisit this, but you know what, Trustee? You're probably right. You're probably going to need two
motions.
requests to reconsider and then a request to approve.
Okay.
Because that did fail.
Yeah, because I don't think we need to.
When I had asked him last week, he had said that it's just a matter of
Putting
bringing
it
it
back
back up.
on, yeah.
So, but
Okay. Well, you know what?
he'll be here.
Trustee Pierce, I'll confirm.
Yeah, I think because it did fail, I think it has to have a formal motion. But I'll check with our parliamentarian.
Well, you can make a, yeah.
Well, she's- I'll
Yeah,
just
talk
call-
to your,
I'll talk to your mom later on. So,
The IT Committee, Trustee Dalzell.
No report.
Human Resources, Trustee McGrill.
No report.
Health and Pollution, Trustee Pierce.
I'm going to defer on this one to the next committee meeting because Mr. Early's not here.
All right. Thank you. The Traffic Safety Committee, Trustee Dalzell.
As Trustee McGrill had already brought up, I'd like to have the discussion on the automatic red light enforcement. We've had some vendors come in, give their presentation. We had one of the vendors who declined to present. We've got the information that they presented, the fees. We all know what it is that they do, and if there's any questions with regards to this, if you want to have further discussion on a committee meeting, I don't really care. It's just at some point in time, we have to be able to, make the decision. So we've got the information. I don't know if people need more time or if we want to put it forth for the agenda to make a decision. And quite frankly, I don't think we should throw it back to the police chief. He's already done it as far as setting up the vendors to come in, and I appreciate that. It's really just a matter for us as the board to find out if we want to continue with that program, and if so, what the best qualified company is to go ahead and proceed with that.
I mean, overall, in terms of discussion, I guess my disappointment in GATSO is it shouldn't take us to tell them that their equipment isn't working.
I can't agree with you more.
So I don't have a whole lot of faith potentially in continuing on with them just based on that. I mean, it was too hard to get them to come out, and
I like their presentation. I like their equipment. In fact,
I love their presentation.
when we first went for red light camera enforcement, I had proposed GATSO as being the company that had the best technology at the time. I think that somewhere along the line they slipped.
And I don't know personally, is it a matter because of the distance? I mean, in terms of where their tech's located compared to where we are, and I don't know how many others they have in the area. But, I mean, if that has anything to do with it, from my perspective, I also then have a slight fear with ATS. Again, loved their demonstration, the equipment, and seeing the video on the phone was awesome, but knowing that their nearest tech is in Knoxville, Tennessee, I don't know what kind of responsiveness. Like I said, with GATSO, it has me fearful.
Their fee system was a little bit higher structured as well.
Their fee system is expensive.
Yeah.
Actually, both Safe Speeds and ATS's fee structures were considerably higher than GATSO's.
How so?
I took January 2016 to January 2017 numbers from the police chief because the time that I received these, I only received from January 2015 to 2016 and 2016 to 2017. Those are the only numbers I had. But if you take 16 to 17's number, which is the last full year that was that we have numbers for, if we go with ATS, an additional 61 tickets per month would have to be written, or citations would have to be issued and collected on. Those are actually good citation violations to receive the same amount of money that we would for what GATSO was actually giving us. And as far as safe speed goes, an additional 95 citations per month. So if we get anything less than either one of those additional amounts, we'd actually be losing money over our current vendor.
Well, that's why I threw out kind of a quick surmise of the way I was listening to the presentations when they were in there. We're considering, folks, 3 different red light camera providers. Currently we use GATSO, and what GATSO does is they actually bill us $30 per violation every month, and we're responsible for paying them $5,000 to $15,000 per month, and then after which, let's say each violation is $100. If you don't pay the violation, it goes to $200. After the violation's paid, only then will GATSO remit the monies back to the village, less their $30 fee per the violation, because they're collecting the full $100. So last year, for example, total revenue we brought in was about, total revenue in violations was like $317,000. But it cost us $134,000 for the service, so the net, what the trustee is referring to, was $183,000. The second company that we heard from was a company called American Traffic Solutions, and what they do is they give you a flat fee per camera. So we've got 4 cameras in our town, and for $4,250 per month, so times 4 cameras, we have to pay them $17,000 a month. So times 12 months, that's a cost to us of $204,000 for their service. After the violations are paid, same thing, 100 and 200. After the violations are paid, they remit the monies back to the village again. But again, we're on the hook for those upfront monies every month, $17,000 a month.
But the GATSO guy said that they don't bill us until they're paid. We asked him that question.
They don't bill us until they get paid?
For the $30 per ticket. That is not billed until they're paid. I asked him that, and he said that is not invoiced to us until it's paid.
Then I stand corrected. So we're paying them the difference every month, because we're paying them money every month. We're paying them between $5,000 and $15,000.
You pay the per camera fee, right? Sure. You pay that to anybody. All of them have that, right?
No. GATSO doesn't have that.
No. Chief, go ahead.
Well, GATSO and SafeSpeed don't have a per camera price.
No.
Okay.
SafeSpeed does have
SafeSpeed
does have an approach fee.
But I asked the guy from GATSO. I said, so this citation is issued or whatever, and it doesn't get collected. He said we could, and that was his words. We could bill you that $30, but we don't. We don't bill you the $30 until the $100 is paid.
Correct.
So Jay, what are they billing us for then every month?
The actual issued tickets. Yeah.
Right, they're billing us whatever tickets we approve, we're getting billed for those.
I thought because I'm seeing this every month, I thought it was on the front end, not the back end.
That's correct. Every ticket that we approve, we get a bill for.
So in theory, we'd like to pay more.
Right.
Right.
Because that would mean we're issuing more tickets. I'm sure everybody out there likes to hear
Although
that.
my
Stop at our red lights. All right. Don't go through.
So then the last company, SafeSpeed, said that there would be no upfront monthly cost due from the village, and they never receive more revenue than the village in any given month, as the village will never be negative due to monthly fees or charges. SafeSpeed actually does the same. Any company, they're all at $100 per violation, $200 if you don't pay it. But after the violation's paid, only then will SafeSpeed transfer monies to the village. So we're just going to be receiving funds after they deduct their $40 per violation and a $500 per camera fee. which they got 4 cameras, so it costs you $2,000 a month, times 12 months is $24,000 annually. So it's a little bit easier on us monthly, or at least on the front end, where we're not coming up with $17,000 or potentially $15,000 for the other 2 vendors every month. Because we're being billed that. We're paying that out every month.
No, Mayor, you're mistaken. There's no upfront fee for GATSO. There only is with the other 2 vendors.
But I'm saying, I said, I stood corrected. It was on the other
But
side.
you
of
said
it.
$15,000
We're still paying that. That's what the sheet was that was on here, that every month you're approving those checks every month.
Okay.
Going back to them.
But for saying something like $15,000 from GATSO, that would be exactly like saying it would be $20,000 from SafeSpeed. Because SafeSpeed is charging us an additional 33% per ticket off the top.
We're paying this.
How so?
They're charging us $40 per ticket. And additionally, if it goes over 30 days without being collected, SafeSpeed charges another $8,
Right.
which comes out of ours as well.
Right. At the $8, but for somebody, because the fee went to $200, but they didn't go 48, it's 8. Right.
No, it's 40, which is 33% higher than GATSO.
So we are.
So to acquire or to overcome the additional fees of $2,000 a month and the extra 33% per ticket, we have to get another 95 tickets written or issued just to make the same amount of money. And if those cameras don't pick up those additional nearly 100 tickets, then we're actually losing money.
Well,
and I understand that from 2017 to 2018, the numbers are a lot lower, but we also had the bridge between 127th Street and Cal-Sag shut down for, 6 weeks? So a lot less traffic going through at that point.
That didn't stop it. We only monitored, well, I know what you're saying. It'd be slower in that month, right?
And yes, they did have technical issues that they said they have worked on with our police department and should have actually, according to the police chief, rectified and were improving as of a month and a half ago.
Somebody has to recommend one.
Like I said, my complaint with the current vendor was just I felt the equipment, like the trustee pointed out, I felt the equipment wasn't performing well. I don't think the onus should be on us to police their equipment. When their equipment's not functioning as it should be, I think we need to look at that. The chief put up a camera at 127th and Cicero just to see if the current equipment was working correctly. The current equipment picked up 10 violations on a 24-hour clock. The test camera picked up 107. We did the same thing at 127th and Pulaski just to confirm if there was a fluke, and the current camera at 127th and Pulaski picked up 1 violation on a 24-hour clock. The test camera picked up 77. We had the police department, so there's a 170 violation difference. We had the police department take a look to see if those were good violations. They confirmed that they were. So basically there's 170 violators that got away that day. So with something that performs like that was always why I had mentioned to the board back in August, I felt it was in our best interest to consider another company.
So we're done. I mean, we've seen all these companies. They've all come in. They've all given their presentations. It's time. So
Right.
somebody's got to make a recommendation on who we're going to go with, and we'll get a vote on it.
Right.
So.
I think, and again, I've advocated a couple of times since 2011 for the Safe Street program. I like their business model, but the ATS program, again, in a flat fee of $17,000 per month, there's no incentive, and there shouldn't, be, but, you never know. We could be on the short end of that stick yet, too. With the cost, it's $204,000 a year.
We saw that with Red Flex. Red Flex had the same billing model, and we saw from that aspect of it. And there's two sides to this sword. One is the revenue side. The other is the effect of the program, traffic safety.
Right.
We're in it for the traffic safety. I believe in the red light program, I believe that you use technology where you can use the technology, allow that to free up the police department to do other things. And so I'm in favor of the red light program. Whether it's GATSO with their next generation, because they promise this time that one will be more effective, whether it's Safe Speed, who's already demonstrated, based upon their test case, that they can, with today's technology, go ahead and perform those violation enforcements. ATS, with their billing system the way that it's set up right now, I don't think that would be beneficial to the community. So either we kick the can down the road and hope that GATSO comes through with their new technology, or we pull the trigger on Safe Speed, who's already demonstrated that they can do it.
Also, there was an issue with the breaking of the contract for GATSO, because they're supposed to be going up through 2019.
No, I think they're up this summer, provided we did not install the light at 115th and Cicero.
Right.
No, but being that they actually did go and do the, what was it, the justification report for 115th, that triggered something in the contract that extended it by a year.
We have to get a legal opinion on that. That's, I mean, I've heard that too. I just want a legal opinion on it.
I tell you, I'm baffled why they haven't called my office. Or the chief. Chief, have they called you?
They have the permit ready to go for 115th and Cicero. That is a sticking point that has to be cleared through the village attorney as far as whether or not just getting the permit is enough for the clause to kick in, along with it may be negated by all the issues we had with cameras not working.
Right.
So this, I mean, these are questions we have to have answered before we can vote on.
Before we go any further, 'cause, I mean, if their contract is now through next summer, I'm not willing to pay the fees associated with breaking.
And
the
if there is if there is an out fee, what's the out fee? You know.
Right.
Out fee is going to be close to $100,000.
Okay, so let's get all these numbers and legal opinion, and before we.
So any other vendor is going to have to really step up their game to make up that kind of money.
I'd like to see the paperwork that we approved.
It's a contract. You have the contract.
Did we approve a contract for $100,000 worth of work?
That was your administration. I had no
Trustee,
idea.
you seem to know about it.
It's not. It's not. It's, if you want to end the contract early, you have to pay for whatever that value of the contract remainder is.
Okay.
So apparently that's 100G.
Well, I will have to get legal on it, because apparently, Trustee, you've got knowledge of this, and nobody's called my office or the chief to talk about it.
We talked about it with GATSO when they made their presentation.
They didn't, I'm telling you, Trustee, they haven't said anything to my office about it.
No, but he said it when we were.
Oh, no, he's asking for permission to start getting work on it. We said, no, hold off until we decide which vendor we're going to use.
Right. No, but he had said for the out.
He said there was, I didn't hear him say $100,000.
Yeah.
There was a year and 4 months left on the contract back when they presented.
Right.
On a camera that hasn't been installed yet?
On the contract term. So if the term goes all the way
Canceling.
through 2019, their expectation is X number of dollars.
Chief, I thought this contract was till this July.
Right.
It ends in this July unless the paperwork is approved for 115th and Cicero, which it was approved
Which it
by
extends
IDOT.
it.
It just hasn't been signed off on by the village.
But the regular contract is good to when? 18 or 19?
18.
That's what I'm saying.
So the legal opinion says whether or not they did their end, they did the justification for report. Just because it's not signed off by the village, does that negate it? I mean, that's the legal opinion we need.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I mean, and if it does automatically kick in the extra year, then I guess I'm of the opinion, put the camera up and start making the intersection safer.
Right.
Because
These
if
are
we're
all
stuck till
issues
next
that
year
were
anyway.
brought up when I sent the contract out, like, several times.
Well, and I have to say, I was under the impression that provided we didn't authorize the installation of that camera, the extra year did not kick in.
And 115th and Cicero is a bad intersection.
It is a bad
for
intersection, and
accidents.
I mean, from my perspective, that's one of the motivations in getting this moving,
Right.
is so that we get the new vendor in place and we get some safety at that intersection, because there have been some horrible accidents there, and we need to help protect our residents.
Yes.
And, you know, the red light cameras, much as people might hate them, they have been proven to reduce accidents.
And if we make this decision, Chief, then the camera would go up?
Correct.
We
If you guys
made the decision for
whatever you
Gatso.
decide to do, if you decide to stay with Gatso, we can sign off on the permits and get that moving or ready to go. So it's just a matter of deciding with legal what direction we can go and go from there.
Thank you.
We'll have Joe Keckar take a look at it. I will finish up. Any presentations, petitions, or communications? A couple quick notes for the audience as well, too. Please keep in mind the village, in cooperation with the Lincoln Leverage Committee, is hosting a Recycle Day coming up on April 28th at the Village Boat Launch. That will include pharmaceuticals that you can turn in to dispose of, as well as like e-waste. There's a small fee to throw away TVs and whatnot, and we're going to have all that set up at the boat launch on April 28th. Also, there's talk in my office right now, we might be putting something together by the end of next month for a Student Government Day. Might take advantage of maybe having some students sit in on some government for a day and participate in what we do up here. So I'll be reaching out to, we're going to put something together, and I'll reach out to some of our local schools, and we'll try and have something to discuss even like next week. And we'll talk about that to set up some before everybody breaks for summer break. And then also I confirmed with our payroll department last week that we're going to start, as of May 1, going into a fiscal year, we're going to start going back to a practice that Trustee Dalzell mentioned to me with issuing all the department heads vacation days for their employees so they can monitor these a little bit better and stuff then too, so we can really police these better, so we know where all the employees stand. Any unfinished business?
Yes, I have two things, Mayor. Just to revisit the bid opening from DN Tanks Incorporated from Wakefield, Massachusetts, totaled $109,891. This will be referred to Mr. Triben. And we had to circle back to the discussion about the vacation carryover because Shanae was going to try to find what policy is.
Yes, so in the employee handbook, it has that use of FMLA leave cannot result in the loss of any employment benefit that accrued prior to the start of an employee's leave. So even though the 15.5 ordinance as well as the AFSCME CBA and the handbook says that no carryover is allowed from one fiscal year to the next, except with board approval, I will interpret that this is a situation in which it will require board approval. And either it will have to be a payout, or if you will carry it over to the next fiscal year, and then at that point, again, it should maybe be valued at the current rate of this year, not the May 1st rate.
I'd be in favor of paying it out. No.
Okay, so a consensus, whether it's to carry over or pay out. Trustee Zelinski?
You could pay it out, that'd be fine.
Trustee Dalzell?
Halesman.
Trustee McGrail?
Pay it out now, is that what you're saying?
Pay it out
or
now.
carry over.
Okay.
Is that your opinion, Trustee McGrail? Trustee Juarez, pay it out or carry it over?
Pay it out.
Trustee Pierce, pay out or carry over?
Pay it out.
Trustee
Pay it out.
McElhart? Okay.
Real quick, I wanted to circle back just a quick question. Trustee Dalzell, we had a request from a resident, Phil DeLuca, recently asking for a handicap or a restricted parking sign in front of his house. I'm certainly good with that. Did you want to put that for, do we need to approve that as a board?
Generally, all we do is we put that sign up, but then one of the things we've done is we've asked for the sign inventory to reflect who the requester is and the reason for it, just so that if we have a resident asking for a handicapped child, is that sooner or later the handicapped child grows up and, you know, if they move off or whatever else like that, we end up, the resident moved away 20 years ago, but the sign still reflects that, that attention. So, to put that up, I don't have really an issue with it. I mean, the rest of the board certainly could be.
I don't
pulled
have an
for it.
issue.
I just want to make sure that on the sign inventory that we note the reason for it, and it's reviewed on occasion to find out the necessity of that sign still being there.
Yeah, we've got a family that's lived right off a corner, and it's a popular corner off of Costner, and they've got a handicapped child at the house, and the parents are asking for a restricted parking because folks are parking out there, and the bus that picks up the child can't really access the house as well as it should. So he's kind of trying to make that parking available for the bus when it pulls up, rather than jamming up a feeder street onto Costner Avenue. So I think the board would agree. I think we're okay with.
We're going to make it
okay.
an all-day, an all-open.
It's,
right.
yeah, it's an all day, not just an hour here and an hour there, just as needed. You never know what the bus runs and all that kind of thing. And you hate to restrict yourself with just hours on a sign and stuff then too. It's one house. Okay, thank you. I guess, Mike, that's what we're going to do then. Well, I'll get you all the information on that. Any new business? All right, then, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Whoa.
All in favor?
Aye.
Folks, I really appreciate your patience. Again, it's a committee we talk about a lot. We'll be voting on all this next week in some cases. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned at 9:25 p.m.
Mayor, can we help you with some of these signatures?
Absolutely.
All right.
You know what,
welcome.
guys, there's so many.